my God, why have you forsaken me? Now many of us have been conditioned to read these words in a certain way. And if you go to the library or swing by my study and borrow a commentary or two on the book of Mark, they'll tell you that this is the moment where the Trinity comes apart. Not really sure what that means exactly, but that's what they say. Where the Son of God, under the weight and horror and ugliness of human sin, not just some human sin, but all human sin, is abandoned by the Father. Where God, the Father, who is pure and holy in every way, who cannot look upon sin, literally turns his face. You can find commentary after commentary that makes an argument like that. And yet many have found that quite disturbing. I mean, after all, Jesus so far has been the one of whom the Father said, when he speaks about him, "This is my Son, my beloved Son. With him I am well pleased." Do what he says. Everything we've heard up to this point is that Jesus is doing exactly what he's supposed to do. He has wrestled with temptation to walk away from his vocation, and yet he has been found faithful. "Let this cup pass, yet not what I will, what you will." And so we're left to ask, what sort of Father, what sort of God abandons his beloved Son at the moment of his greatest faithfulness? And if he abandons Jesus, how can I know he'll be there for me? Now, if you turn back to interpreters of old and read through some folks from ancient history and the Middle Ages and even the Reformation time, you run into commentators who recognize this is a problem. And they work hard to kind of think through, are there other ways to read this? Is there a way to understand what's going on here where Jesus experiences this feeling of abandonment, but somehow in some surprising, mysterious, beautiful way, God is faithful? Because after all, if the Trinity comes apart, can creation remain a thing at all? What does it even mean for the eternally begotten Son to be separated from the Father? Now we get some clues in the fact that Mark is including this last word of Jesus that is a quote from Psalm 22. Could it be that over the course of those 3 hours, as Jesus agonizes, that the whole of Psalm 22 was continuously on his lips? That's certainly the way it looks. So to understand how the psalm impacts our understanding of the cross and the work of Jesus, we actually have to read the psalm. So the whole thing starts out with this cry of sorrow, and then it shifts to a declaration of the covenant faithfulness of God. And then it brings us back to the sorrow of the present moment. And then it shifts to a declaration of the covenant faithfulness of God. And it does that over and over and over again, and that's the rhythm of the song. So let's read it together. My God, why have you forsaken me? That's familiar to us. Why are you so far from saving me? So far from my cries of anguish. My God, I cry out by day, but you do not answer. By night, but I find no rest. And you feel the weight, don't you? You feel the sorrow. You feel the sense of isolation. You think this guy has been abandoned. He is without hope. He is lost. But he knows better, and he wants us to know that we should know better too. But you, Lord, do not be far from me. Remember, this is the same person who was crying out at the beginning of the psalm, why have you forsaken me? You are my strength. Come quickly to help me. Deliver me from the sword, my precious life from the power of the dogs. Rescue me from the mouth of the lions. Save me from the horns of the wild oxen. I will declare your name to my people. In the assembly I will praise you. You who fear the Lord, praise him. All you descendants of Jacob, honor him. Revere him, all you descendants of Israel. Now listen to this. For he has not despised or scorned the suffering of the afflicted one. He has not hidden his face. This is the psalm Jesus prays as he hangs on the cross that Good Friday. He has not hidden his face from him, but has listened to his cry for help. The psalmist begins by articulating the feeling of abandonment. But the psalmist knows that our feelings are not always the best indicator of reality, are they? And in response to the experience, the way I feel lost, I feel abandoned, I feel forsaken. In response to that experience, to that feeling, to that articulation of that need, he preaches gospel to himself, doesn't he? God is faithful. My fathers cried out to you and you rescued them. I've been yours since my mother's birth. I'm surrounded by dogs and wild animals, but you, I will declare your name in the assembly. Be faithful. Sometimes you got to preach to yourself when you feel lost, don't you? From you, verse 25, comes the theme of my praise. Notice how the tone has shifted from the beginning to this point. Why, O God, have you forsaken me? Verse 25, from you comes the theme of my praise in the great assembly. Before those who fear you, I will fulfill my vows. The poor will eat and be satisfied. Those who seek the Lord will praise him. May your hearts live forever. All the ends of the earth will remember and turn to the Lord. All the families of the nations will bow down before him, for dominion belongs to the Lord, and he rules over the nations. All the rich of the earth will feast and worship. All who go down to the dust will kneel before him. Those who cannot keep themselves alive, posterity will serve him. Future generations will be told about the Lord. They will proclaim his righteousness, declaring to a people yet unborn, he has done it. The psalm that begins articulating the experience of feeling forsaken comes to a resounding climax, declaring the unflinching faithfulness of God. As Jesus hangs on the cross, as the sun grows dark, as mockers surround him, as he breathes his last, the prayer on his lips is a psalm that begins, my God, why have you forsaken me? And comes to a point where it prays, he has not hidden his face from me. God did not turn his face from his beloved Son. In this moment, with the death and resurrection of Jesus, the perfect faithfulness of God is revealed in the prayers of Jesus Christ.